The sound of metal crushing bone came first. Then the scream cut short. The truck's tires squealed as it fishtailed, regained traction, and accelerated away from the crumpled form on the asphalt. Inside the cab, Liam's knuckles whitened around the steering wheel as he fought to control his breathing. Beside him, Alyssa stared straight ahead, her face frozen in shock. "Did you see his face?" she whispered. "Oh God, Liam, I saw his face." Liam pressed his foot harder on the accelerator. "Don't say another word. Not until we're home." Behind them, unseen in the pre-dawn darkness, a traffic camera's red recording light blinked steadily, capturing the truck's license plate as it fled the scene. 3 months earlier. "Hey, are you even listening to me?" Alyssa nudged Liam's shoulder, pulling him from his thoughts. Liam Matthews looked up from his half-empty beer, his blue eyes refocusing on the woman across from him. The dive bar's dim lighting softened Alyssa's features, casting a warm glow over her dark hair. 29 and still waiting for his life to start. Liam had been drifting through existence until she'd barreled into it 6 months ago. "Sorry," he said, running a hand through his short blonde hair. "Just thinking about tomorrow's shift." Alyssa rolled her eyes. "You're always thinking about tomorrow. That's your problem." She leaned forward, lowering her voice. "I've got something better for you to think about." The folded newspaper she slid across the table contained a job listing circled in red marker. Security consultant needed. Former law enforcement or military preferred. 85. 0. Year. "It's with Carver Industries," Alyssa continued. "My cousin works in HR there. Says they hire people with records all the time for security positions. Progressive company or whatever." Liam's jaw tightened. "I don't have a record." "Not officially," Alyssa conceded. "But you don't have the credentials either. I'm just saying I know someone who could help with that part." "You mean forged documents?" It wasn't a question. "I mean get you an interview." Alyssa's dark eyes held his. "You're wasting your life delivering packages, Liam. You've got the experience, just not the paperwork to prove it. One little white lie, and you could triple your income." Liam took another sip of his beer. 3 years ago, he'd been discharged from the Army honorably, but barely. The nightmares from his last deployment still visited him regularly. He'd applied to a dozen police departments afterward, but the psych evaluations always flagged him. Too much unresolved trauma, they said. Too much potential for inappropriate response under stress. "I'll think about it," he said finally, knowing he'd already made his decision. He always did when it came to Alyssa's suggestions, no matter how many lines they crossed. The interview at Carver Industries went smoothly, too smoothly. The forged military records Alyssa's contact provided listed Liam as former military police with specialized training in threat assessment. When the interviewer, a balding man named Graves, asked about specific protocols, Liam drew from what he actually knew, embellishing where necessary. "Your references check out," Graves said finally, extending his hand. "Welcome aboard, Mr. Matthews. You start Monday." The pay was better than good. For the first time since leaving the Army, Liam had money to spare. He moved from his cramped studio apartment to a 2-bedroom with Alyssa, bought himself a used truck, and started talking about the future like it was something to look forward to, rather than dread. Then came the email. "Mr. Matthews, it has come to our attention that certain discrepancies exist in your application materials. Please report to HR promptly at 9 a.m. tomorrow to discuss this matter. Regards, Michael Graves, Head of Security." Liam stared at his phone, the blood draining from his face. He called Alyssa immediately. "They know," he said when she answered. "Someone must have actually checked my references." There was a long pause before Alyssa replied. "Don't go in tomorrow. We need to talk first." That night, she outlined a plan that made his stomach turn. "I know things about Carver," she explained. "Things they wouldn't want getting out. We just need leverage." "Blackmail? Are you serious?" Liam paced their living room. "That's a felony, Alyssa." "So is fraud," she countered. "Which is what they'll charge you with if you don't fight back." She showed him photographs. Internal documents, she claimed, proved Carver Industries was dumping chemical waste into the river that ran through the poorer side of town. Cancer rates there had tripled in the past decade. "How did you get these?" Liam asked, suspicious now. Alyssa's expression hardened. "My brother died from leukemia 3 years ago. He was 24 and grew up swimming in that river." She paused. "I've been working on bringing Carver down for a while. Meeting you, getting you hired, it wasn't an accident." The betrayal cut deep. "You used me." "I gave you an opportunity," she corrected. "Now I'm giving you another one. Help me expose them, and your fake credentials won't matter anymore. You'll be a whistleblower, not a fraud." The plan was simple, or so Alyssa claimed. Late at night, they would break into Graves' office and copy files from his computer files that supposedly contained proof of the company's knowledge about the contamination and subsequent cover-up. "If we get caught," Liam began. "We won't," Alyssa interrupted. "Security's minimal at night, and you have access. In and out in 20 minutes. But nothing went as planned. The night guard wasn't supposed to be making rounds on that floor. He wasn't supposed to recognize Liam. He wasn't supposed to draw his weapon. "Freeze!" The guard's voice echoed down the hallway as Liam and Alyssa ran toward the fire exit. "Security! Stop or I'll shoot!" Liam's combat training kicked in. He shoved Alyssa ahead of him, using his body as a shield. They burst through the exit door and sprinted toward his truck in the parking lot. The guard pursued, radio crackling as he called for backup. They reached the truck just as police sirens wailed in the distance. Liam fumbled with his keys, adrenaline making his hands shake. The guard rounded the corner, gun still drawn. "Police are coming!" the guard shouted. "Don't make this worse than it already is." Liam finally got the key in the ignition. The truck roared to life just as the guard positioned himself in front of the vehicle. "Move!" Liam yelled through the windshield. The guard stood his ground, weapon now aimed directly at Liam. "Drive!" Alyssa hissed beside him. "He won't shoot." Liam hesitated, then pressed the accelerator. The truck lurched forward slowly at first, giving the guard time to step aside, but the man didn't move. "Stop! Carver security! Stop the vehicle!" the guard shouted, his voice tinged with panic. Time seemed to slow down. Liam saw the guard's finger tighten on the trigger. In that split second, survival instinct overrode everything else. He floored the accelerator. The guard fired once before the truck slammed into him, the sound of the impact sickening. Liam didn't stop, couldn't stop. The truck fishtailed as he swerved around the fallen body and sped toward the exit. "Did you see his face?" Alyssa whispered. "Oh God, Liam, I saw his face." Liam pressed his foot harder on the accelerator. "Don't say another word. Not until we're home." Behind them, the traffic camera's red light blinked, capturing everything. Detective Rachel Morales had seen plenty of hit and runs in her 15 years on the force, but this one felt different. The victim, Derek Collins, 42, father of 3, wasn't just a security guard. He was a former police officer who'd left the force after taking a bullet during a drug bust gone wrong. "One of our own." "Her partner," Detective Paul Chen muttered, as they reviewed the traffic cam footage for the 5th time. The image quality was poor, but they could clearly make out the truck's license plate and the silhouettes of 2 individuals inside. "Run the plate again," Morales directed, though she already knew the result. The truck belonged to Liam Matthews, 29, honorably discharged Army veteran with no criminal record. His current employer listed him as a delivery driver for a local courier service, though his most recent pay stubs showed deposits from Carver Industries. What was he doing at Carver at 2 a.m.? Chen wondered aloud. "Let's go ask him," Morales replied, grabbing her jacket. By the time they reached Liam's apartment, he and Alyssa were already gone. Neighbors reported hearing an argument followed by the sound of hurried packing around 5 a.m. The couple had left in Alyssa's car, abandoning the truck 3 blocks away. "They're running," Chen said as they stood in the empty apartment. "That's as good as a confession." Morales wasn't so sure. Something about the scene at Carver Industries didn't add up. Collins had fired his weapon before being struck. The shell casing confirmed that. And security footage from inside the building showed Liam and a woman, presumably Alyssa, accessing an office that belonged to Michael Graves, head of security. "I want to know what they were looking for," Morales told Chen. "Get a warrant for Graves' computer and office." Liam and Alyssa made it 200 miles before stopping at a rundown motel off the interstate. While Alyssa showered, Liam turned on the news. His stomach dropped when he saw his own face staring back at him from the screen. Wanted for questioning in the hit-and-run death of security guard Derek Collins. Police have identified the suspects as Liam Matthews and Alyssa Reeves. The pair were last seen. Death. The guard had died. Liam sank onto the bed, his head in his hands. He was a killer now. Alyssa emerged from the bathroom wrapped in a towel, her hair dripping. "We need to keep moving," she said, seemingly unfazed by the news report still playing. "He's dead, Alyssa," Liam said, his voice hollow. "That guard, Collins, he died." "It was self-defense," she replied coolly. "He shot at us first. Because we were breaking in. Because you convinced me to go along with your insane revenge plan." Liam stood up, anger replacing shock. "You said no one would get hurt." Alyssa's expression hardened. "People have been getting hurt for years because of Carver. My brother died because of them. Dozens more will die if they aren't stopped. So that makes it okay? One death for the greater good?" Liam shook his head in disbelief. "I'm turning myself in." "No." Alyssa grabbed his arm. "Listen to me. We got what we came for." She reached into her bag and pulled out a flash drive. "All the proof we need. We can still make this right." Liam stared at the small device. "How?" "We send copies to every news outlet and the EPA. Once it's public, we turn ourselves in. Your lawyer can argue temporary insanity or justifiable homicide or whatever. The point is, Carver goes down." Against his better judgment, Liam agreed. They would find an internet cafe in the next town, send the files, then face the consequences together. Detective Morales sat at her desk, reviewing the files recovered from Graves's computer. What she found disturbed her deeply. Emails, reports, and spreadsheets detailed exactly what Alyssa had suspected Carver Industries had indeed been dumping toxic waste and covering it up for years. More disturbing were the photographs of known environmental activists, including Alyssa Reeves, with notes about their potential threat level. They were watching her, Morales told Chen. Graves knew exactly who she was when Matthews was hired. So what? They're still guilty of breaking and entering, theft, and vehicular homicide, Chen argued. "It's more complicated than that," Morales insisted. "Collins fired first. The camera shows Matthews trying to drive around him initially. And look at this." She pointed to an email from Graves to Carver's CEO. "Situation contained. Matthews terminated before accessing sensitive files. Reeves' location being tracked." "Terminated? That sounds like they intended to kill Matthews if he showed up," Morales finished. "I think Collins was ordered to stop them by any means necessary." The investigation took another turn when the medical examiner's report came back. Collins had elevated levels of amphetamines in his system enough to cause paranoia and aggression. His service weapon had fired 3 times, not once as initially reported, with 2 bullets found embedded in the parking lot asphalt. He was shooting to kill, Morales concluded. This wasn't standard security protocol. Liam and Alyssa never made it to the internet cafe. 20 miles from the motel, a police roadblock forced them to detour down a rural road. It was there that Alyssa finally confessed the full truth. "I worked for Carver for 6 years, she admitted as they drove through farmland in the fading light. "Environmental compliance. I was the one who signed off on the disposal permits." Liam gripped the steering wheel tighter. "You knew?" "Not at first," she insisted. "When I figured it out, I tried to report it internally. That's when they fired me and blacklisted me from the industry." She paused. "My brother's death was the final straw. I've been planning this for 2 years. And I was just a pawn?" Liam's voice was dangerously quiet. "No." Alyssa touched his arm. "You were my way in, yes. But I love you, Liam. That part is real." Before he could respond, headlights appeared behind them, closing fast. Then came the wail of sirens. "Police!" Liam shouted, checking the rearview mirror. "How did they find us?" Alyssa's face drained of color. "The motel must have recognized us." She grabbed her bag. "We need to run, if they catch us before the evidence gets out." "I'm done running," Liam declared, slowing the car. "It's over, Alyssa." "No!" She reached for the steering wheel. You don't understand. Carver has people everywhere, police, judges. We'll never get a fair trial. They struggled for control of the vehicle as police cars surrounded them. In the chaos, the car swerved off the road and down an embankment, rolling twice before coming to rest against a tree. Liam, dazed and bleeding from a gash on his forehead, looked over at Alyssa. She hung limply against her seatbelt, unresponsive. Alyssa? He whispered, reaching for her. Alyssa? Police officers approached with weapons drawn, shouting commands. Liam raised his hand slowly, watching as paramedics rushed toward the wreckage. She needs help, he called out. Please, she needs help. Detective Morales arrived at the crash scene an hour later. By then, Liam had been handcuffed and placed in the back of a police car. Alyssa was being loaded into an ambulance, still unconscious. I need 5 minutes with him, Morales told the officer on scene. Inside the police car, Liam looked defeated. His face was streaked with dried blood, his eyes vacant. Mr. Matthews, Morales began, I know about the documents you and Ms. Reeves took from Carver Industries. I need to know where they are. Liam's eyes focused on her, suspicious. Why? So you can make them disappear? Alyssa said Carver owns half the police force. Not me, Morales replied firmly. Those documents could explain a lot, including why a security guard was ready to use deadly force against 2 unarmed intruders. Slowly, Liam nodded toward Alyssa's bag, which had been collected as evidence. There's a flash drive sewn into the lining. Morales thanked him and stood to leave, but Liam called her back. Is she going to be okay? He asked, his voice breaking. Morales hesitated. The paramedics say she has a severe head injury. They're doing everything they can. The evidence on the flash drive was damning. Within days, Carver Industries executives were being indicted, and the EPA had shut down the facility pending a full investigation. News outlets ran exposés on the cancer cluster in the Riverside community, featuring interviews with families of victims including Alyssa's parents, who spoke tearfully about their son's death. But Liam found no satisfaction in Carver's downfall. Alyssa remained in a coma, her prognosis uncertain, and he still faced charges for his role in Colin's death. Detective Morales advocated for reduced charges, arguing that Collins had used excessive force and that Liam had acted under duress. But the district attorney, eager for a high-profile conviction, pushed for second-degree murder. The jury needs to decide, the DA told Morales. A man is dead. Someone has to answer for that. Liam's trial began 3 months after the crash. Each day, he was escorted past news cameras and protesters, some supporting him as a whistleblower, others demanding justice for Colin's family. Inside the courtroom, he sat expressionless as prosecutors painted him as a fraud who had lied his way into a job, then killed to cover his crimes. His defense attorney argued self-defense and presented evidence of Carver's corruption, including testimony from former employees who confirmed the company's willingness to silence whistleblowers. Detective Morales testified about Colin's drug use and the multiple shots fired. On the trial's 5th day, an unexpected witness appeared, Michael Graves, in exchange for immunity. He confirmed that Collins had been instructed to prevent Liam and Alyssa from leaving by any means necessary. He also admitted to knowing about Alyssa's connection to her brother's death when Liam was hired. We needed to know what she was planning, Graves testified. Matthews was our way to monitor her. The revelation shocked Liam. He had been used by everyone: Alyssa, Carver, perhaps even Detective Morales with her convenient appearance at the crash site. He felt hollowed out, a shell of the person he'd once been. The jury deliberated for 3 days before returning with a verdict: guilty of vehicular manslaughter, but not murder. The judge sentenced Liam to 8 years in prison with eligibility for parole after 5. As he was led from the courtroom, Liam caught sight of Detective Morales in the gallery. Their eyes met briefly. She nodded, one gesture of respect perhaps, or simply acknowledgement that justice, such as it was, had been served. Alyssa died without regaining consciousness 1 week after Liam's sentencing. The official cause was complications from traumatic brain injury, but Liam, reading the news in his prison cell, wondered if she had simply given up once Carver had been exposed and her brother avenged. In the months that followed, more victims came forward. The EPA confirmed contamination levels far worse than initially reported. Class action lawsuits were filed. Carver Industries declared bankruptcy, its executives facing their own criminal charges. Detective Morales visited Liam on the anniversary of Collins's death. She brought news that the victim's family had received a settlement from Carver's insurance as small consolation for their loss. But something. They don't blame you anymore, she told him. Not since the truth came out about Collins being ordered to stop you. Liam stared at his hands. Does that change anything? He's still dead. Alyssa's still dead. All those people who got sick from the chemicals, they're still sick. It changes the story, Morales replied. Not the ending, but the meaning. Liam wasn't sure he believed in meaning anymore. Justice had been served, perhaps, but at what cost? 3 lives destroyed directly, countless others damaged by corporate greed. Even with Carver gone, the river would remain poisoned for generations. As Morales left, she paused. For what it's worth, Matthews, I think you were trying to do the right thing. You just trusted the wrong person. Liam said nothing. In his darkest moments, he still saw Collins' face in the headlights, still heard Alyssa's whispered shock. He would carry those memories for the rest of his life. Punishment no court could impose or commute. Justice, he had learned, was never clean, never complete. It was shattered glass, dangerous to handle, impossible to fully restore, and always, always leaving scars on those who tried to pick up the pieces.